wanted to make a couple videos kind of documenting or chronicling my lifting journey. And the one I'm going to do this morning is going to be when I started in my high school years. Now, of course, all through junior high, periodically I would, mess around with plastic weights for a few weeks and then stop. But 1982, I was going into 10th grade and I just wanted to hang out. I didn't really want to do any sports or anything. I just wanted to hang out with my friends. And I played Pop Warner football previously and, it was pretty good. But I got to where I didn't want to play any sports and just kind of wanted to hang out with my friends and, do things I shouldn't. So I didn't live with my father. But my father was always a real good football coach and loved football. So he was kind of on my back to go play football. So I went out for football kind of just to get him off my back. Now, going into 10th grade, I was about the same height I am now, about 5'9", and I only weighed 150 pounds. So my dad said, hey, just go out for offensive line. Nobody wants to play offensive line, so you got a better chance to play. So, I didn't really care. I didn't want to play anyway. So I said, okay. So I went out for offensive line. And so I get out there, and I'm doing a really good job. And for some reason, I always knew how to hit people. I was a good hitter. I think hitting is kind of something like, it's kind of similar to, having a knockout punch or being able to hit a home run. You can improve your physical strength, you can improve your athletic ability or whatever, but those are kind of things you either have it or you don't. It's like a linebacker that knows how to read a play. Something you have instinctively, you just know how to do it. You know how to, you can deliver a knockout punch, you can hit a home run, slap the ball. You know how to read a play, and you know how to hit. So, big hitter, I was hitting people really good, but I only weighed 150 pounds, and so, I'm realizing, I need to put on some weight. So I'm thinking, I really can't wait until the season gets over so I can start, working out with weights and put on some weight for football. Well, finished our 6-week junior varsity schedule, and so they moved 6 of us up to the varsity team, and one of them was yours truly. And I'll tell you who else was on that team with me and got moved up with me was the one and only All-Pro Kansas City Chief linebacker, Derek Thomas. So got moved up to varsity, so I had to go through practice for another 4 weeks. So I'm there on the varsity team, not playing in the games, of course, but in practice. And I'm plowing into these, 200 pound, 220 pound, 230 pound linemen, and I'm just getting jarred. And then I'm stinging them, but I'm getting rocked. And so my neck's really hurting me. And I couldn't wait to get out of, get that season over with and start, working out. Well, I remember at the end of the season, the newspaper came out with the all-county team. I looked at that picture, and there's something in me. I just said, I'm going to make all-county. I want to make all-county. So I started working out, and so a friend of my father's who had, sons my age that I played ball with, they had weights in their house, and the father used to work out, back in the 50s, 60s. So he had weights in his house, and his sons would use his weights. And so my dad talked to him, and so he said I could start working out there. So I started working out there with them. And so I was 150 pounds, 5'9". So my first day, bench pressed 200 pounds. And I remember we would train, we never train lower body. We would train upper body. I think I don't know if we did push or pull, or we did chest and back and arms and shoulders the next day. But whatever we did, we trained each body part 3 days a week. So you'd bench, let's say you bench on Monday, and then whatever you did on Tuesday, something else, and you bench again on Wednesday. And so that's how we trained 6 days a week, and I made progress. So by the end of the year, by the end of the school year, which about early June, I went from a 200-pound bench to a 270-pound bench, and my body weight went from 150 to probably at the highest about 180. Well, unfortunately, that season, that summer, I went on a trip. When I came back, my friend called me up and said, "Hey, I've been working for such and such landscape company." He says, "They need help. Do you want to work?" I said, "Sure." So I started working with them. So I'm out in the hot sun, South Florida sun, all day. No excuse. I'm just explaining what happened and what I did, what I didn't do. So I'm out there in the hot Florida sun. I already stopped working out, so I'm behind. So I stopped working out, didn't work out all that summer. So I go into my junior year, football, 11th grade. So I'm down about 175. Of course, I lost a lot of muscle, lost a lot of strength. A lot of the gains that I worked for, I didn't have because I stopped working out. So I started that season and, made honorable mention at offensive line, 170 pounds. And so after the end of the season, I hit it with a vengeance. So, I really wanted to get back what I had lost. So I started working out again. And now in those days, of course I said I didn't, 10th grade, 11th grade, did not train lower body, only trained upper body. But did a lot of volume, did a lot of sets, high reps. I didn't really know it. I knew that powerlifting existed, although I didn't really know much about the sport formally. But I gained a lot of muscle. I wasn't so I do my bench. I work on my bench, but I wasn't really working on maxing my bench. I would go in there and I would try to do a top set, like a top set of 8, top set of 6, top set of 7, top set of 10. Okay, but I remember by the end of 11th grade, I was doing triples with 300. So let's say by the end of 11th grade, my max was probably around, 330, 335, touch and go bench, smooth. We always use good form. Where I worked out, keep your feet flat on the floor, don't raise your butt, don't bounce, all those things. But not a powerlifting style bench where you pause. Okay. So then in my 11th grade year, doing triple with 300 pounds. Okay. And so I developed this method just on my own. Like when spring training would come, I started working out, started lifting weights to gain weight for football. But when spring training would come around, or when football season would come around, I'd be really upset. Not upset, but I'd be, concerned because I love working out so much that I knew that my working out was going to suffer. So I had to I didn't want to lose my gains, so I had to make some kind of maintenance program. So what I did, if I did let's say I did 4 sets of bench, let's say I did 4 sets of curls. So, back in those days when everything was bench bench and arms. So when you started. So if I did 4 sets of bench, I would do 2 sets of bench. If I did 4 sets of curls, I would do 2 sets of curls. Then I would drop the weight. Uh, let's say I do 2 sets of 8 with 250. I would drop the weight. Let's say I do 2 sets of 8 with about 240. Okay, just drop the weight a little bit where it was smooth and controlled, and I could just kind of knock it out. I could kind of maintain my strength, maintain my size all through spring training or all through the football season, the regular season. So that's so by the end of my junior year, I remember I weighed about 200, 210, and I was benching 300 for a triple. And so I went in that football season my senior year. I went to another school, unfortunately. In my senior year, I maintained my training all through the football season, the regular season football year. But I remember when I went to that new school, I remember getting in that school and going in the weight room, and back then we could take weight training as an elective. So I remember, and of course the football team would go in there. Back in those days, high schools did not generally, these schools I went to, and most schools did not have an organized weight training program for their football players. They kind of like encourage you to lift, tell you to lift. They'd open the gym, whatever, for you to lift. They didn't really tell you what to do or anything. They didn't know anything about it. Even if they thought they did, they didn't. But, so, go in the weight room. I remember they had a board. And I remember they probably had a 250-pound club. It was 1985. 275-pound club, 300-pound club, and a 325-pound club. And I remember looking at that. I was already, our bench was probably like 330, 335, although I didn't max. Just to work up to a triple with 300 pounds. But I remember looking at that board and just thinking to myself, I want to start a 400-pound club. I want to get a 400-pound bench before I graduate high school. And so I remember in 11th grade working out there at my friend's dad's house. Periodically they would have Muscle and Fitness magazine laying in there. So I would look at it, and every once in a while they'd have a little bit in there, something about powerlifting. And I remember one article, this stuck in my mind, never forget it. They had a picture of David Shaw, the 275, the black 275-pound lifter, who's a great deadlifter in that era, and a really good lifter in general. They had a picture of him deadlifting, and he had the most incredible physique. And of course he's deadlifting, so everything is just pronounced, and it said something like, note the Herculean development of David Shaw, talking about how, muscularly developed powerlifters were. And so, when I saw that picture, I just said, man, I want to be a powerlifter. I want to be built like that. And, because, he's lean and he's muscular and he's, in that rugged, dense physique. And so I started hearing a little bit more about powerlifting. And of course, when I got my senior year, I wanted that 400-pound bench. So I started putting a little more emphasis on maxing out in the bench and on focusing on the bench instead of just, overall general, what I would call power building, hypertrophy, and strength training. So training base strength, training hypertrophy, just all mixed together. So I started kind of specializing more and more on the bench. And so by the end of my senior year, I would regularly, I didn't know anything about, cycling your training. I would just go up, work up to a top set, and see if I can improve on it. But I was regular, and I was, training by myself. Of course, I just get somebody to spot me, hand off to me. But I would regularly triple 365 and 370. 370 for a triple and 385 for a double. And so by the time I graduated as a senior, I did a perfect controlled touch and go bench with 400 pounds. So next time I'll probably talk about my training after I graduated high school, post high school, pre powerlifting. Thank you for listening. I wish everyone the best in their training.